In the depths of the Colombian jungle, where the canopy blocks out the sun and danger lurks behind every tree, a young girl learned to survive in ways most people could never imagine. This is not a fairy tale or a movie script. This is the real story of Marina Chapman, a woman who spent 5 years living among capuchin monkeys after being abandoned in the rainforest as a child. Her story challenges everything we think we know about human nature, survival, and the thin line between civilization and the wild. It's a tale of fear, adaptation, and the surprising kindness of creatures we often underestimate. Marina's ordeal began on an ordinary day in 1954, when she was just 4 years old. She was playing in her yard in a small Colombian village when 2 men grabbed her, threw her into a car, and drove for hours into the jungle. The kidnappers had planned to ransom her, but for reasons Marina would never understand, they simply left her in the middle of the forest and disappeared. Imagine being 4 years old, suddenly alone in one of the most dangerous places on earth. No food, no water, no shelter. Marina wandered through the dense vegetation, crying for help that never came. She ate berries and fruits she found, not knowing which ones were poisonous. She drank from muddy streams, desperate to survive. For the first few days, Marina clung to the hope that someone would find her, but as days turned into weeks, that hope faded. The little girl began to realize a terrifying truth. She was completely alone, and she would have to learn to survive or die trying. After several weeks of struggling alone, Marina collapsed near a cave, weak from hunger and exhaustion. When she woke up, she found herself surrounded by a group of capuchin monkeys. These small, intelligent primates watched her with curious eyes, chattering among themselves, as if deciding what to do with this strange, hairless creature. At first, Marina was terrified. She had no idea whether these animals would attack her or help her. But the monkeys did something unexpected. They began bringing her food. They dropped fruits and nuts near her, teaching her which plants were safe to eat and which ones to avoid. The monkeys became Marina's family, her teachers and her protectors. She learned to move like them, climbing trees with increasing skill. She learned to communicate through sounds and gestures, understanding their warnings when predators were near. She learned to groom them, picking insects from their fur, which strengthened her bond with the troop. Marina adopted their behaviors completely. She walked on all fours, slept in trees, and ate with her hands. She lost the ability to speak human language, forgetting the words she once knew. Her hair grew long and tangled, her skin became tough from constant exposure to the elements, and her fingernails grew thick and strong from climbing. The troop accepted her as one of their own. They protected her from snakes, jaguars, and other dangers. When she was sick from eating something poisonous, an old female monkey showed her which leaves to chew to make herself vomit. This act of wisdom probably saved Marina's life more than once. Though Marina's story primarily involves capuchin monkeys, her time in the jungle brought her face to face with various dangerous animals, including larger primates. One of the most terrifying encounters happened when Marina accidentally wandered into territory that wasn't safe. While searching for food one day, Marina found herself in an area where the sounds were different. The trees were larger, and the atmosphere felt heavy with danger. Suddenly, she heard a sound that made her blood run cold, a deep, powerful roar that shook the leaves around her. In the distance, she saw a massive figure moving through the trees. It was much larger than any monkey she knew, with powerful arms and a chest that seemed as wide as a tree trunk. Though exact species identification from a child's perspective is uncertain, Marina encountered what appeared to be a large male primate, possibly a type of gorilla or a particularly large howler monkey exhibiting aggressive territorial behavior. The creature noticed her immediately. It began making threatening displays, beating its chest and breaking branches to show its strength. Marina knew instinctively that she was in extreme danger. Her monkey family had scattered, abandoning her in the face of this superior force. Drawing on everything she had learned from the monkeys, Marina did the only thing she could. She made herself small, avoided eye contact, and slowly backed away, without turning her back on the animal. She moved carefully from tree to tree, using the dense vegetation as cover. The creature followed her for several terrifying minutes, continuing its displays of dominance. Finally, satisfied that Marina was leaving its territory, the large primate stopped following her. Marina ran as fast as she could, her heart pounding, until she found her monkey troop again. They greeted her with loud calls, seemingly relieved that she had survived. This encounter taught Marina an important lesson. Even in her adopted family, she was still vulnerable. She was not truly a monkey, and there were dangers in the jungle that even her new skills couldn't fully protect her against. Marina lived with the monkeys for approximately 5 years. Then, one day in 1959, hunters discovered her near the edge of the jungle. At first, they thought she was some kind of animal. She was crawling on all fours, covered in dirt, and made only monkey-like sounds. She tried to run away, terrified of these strange creatures who walked on 2 legs. The hunters captured her and took her to a nearby town. Marina fought them every step of the way, biting, scratching, and trying to escape. She didn't understand that they were trying to help her. To Marina, humans were the monsters who had abandoned her in the jungle. The monkeys had been her true family. Returning to human society was, in many ways, harder than surviving in the jungle. Marina had to relearn everything: how to walk upright, how to use utensils, how to wear clothes, how to speak. The sounds of language that once felt natural now seemed impossible to recreate. Her throat and mouth had forgotten how to form words. Unfortunately, Marina's return to civilization was not the happy ending she deserved. She was sold to a brothel by the family that claimed to take her in. She escaped and ended up living on the streets, where she was eventually taken in by a more caring family. Eventually, she moved to England, where she built a new life, got married, and had children. Marina's story has been met with both fascination and skepticism. Some scientists question whether a child could truly survive 5 years alone in the jungle, even with help from monkeys. However, there are documented cases of feral children throughout history who survived in similar circumstances. Child development experts note that Marina's age, when she was abandoned, was crucial. At 4 years old, she was old enough to have some survival instincts, but young enough to adapt to a completely new way of living. Her brain was still plastic enough to learn the communication and movement patterns of another species. The fact that she lived with capuchin monkeys specifically is important. Capuchins are among the most intelligent primates, known for their problem-solving abilities and social behaviors. They use tools, work together, and have complex social structures. If any monkey species could teach a human child to survive, it would be capuchins. Marina's story also tells us something profound about human adaptability. When faced with impossible circumstances, especially as children, humans can adapt in ways that seem almost miraculous. Marina learned to climb like a monkey, eat like a monkey, and think like a monkey, because that was the only way to survive. Today, Marina Chapman lives in England and has written a book about her experiences called The Girl with No Name. She has grandchildren and leads a relatively normal life, though she still carries the scars, both physical and emotional, of her time in the jungle. She has trouble with certain sounds and bright lights, and she still feels most comfortable in nature. Sometimes, she says, she dreams she's back in the trees with her monkey family, and she wakes up feeling a strange sense of loss. Marina's story raises important questions about identity and belonging. What makes us human? Is it our ability to speak and use technology, or is it something deeper? Marina spent her formative years as a monkey, yet she was able to return to human society and thrive. She bridged 2 worlds that most people believe are completely separate. Her story has also brought attention to the plight of abandoned and abused children around the world. Marina's kidnapping and abandonment were not unique. Even today, thousands of children disappear or are abandoned in difficult circumstances. While most don't end up living with monkeys, they all face the challenge of survival in a world that has failed to protect them. What can we learn from Marina's incredible story of survival? First, it shows us that kindness exists in unexpected places. The monkeys that saved Marina had no obligation to help her. They could have ignored her or even seen her as a threat. Instead, they took her in and taught her to survive. Second, Marina's story demonstrates the remarkable adaptability of the human spirit, especially in children. When faced with impossible odds, we can find ways to survive and even thrive. Marina didn't just survive in the jungle, she became part of it. Finally, her story reminds us that the line between civilization and wilderness is thinner than we think. Marina moved from being a human child to living as a monkey, and then back to being human again. Each time, she had to learn and relearn what it meant to exist in that world. Marina Chapman's story of living among monkeys and facing dangerous predators in the Colombian jungle is one of the most remarkable survival stories ever told. For 5 years, she lived as a wild child, learning from capuchin monkeys and adapting to one of the harshest environments on Earth. Her encounter with a large, aggressive primate reminded her of her vulnerability, even with all her newly learned survival skills. Yet she survived, was eventually rescued, and managed to rebuild her life in human society despite the trauma she endured. Today, Marina's story continues to inspire people around the world. It's a testament to human resilience, the unexpected kindness of animals, and the incredible ways we can adapt when survival depends on it. Whether you believe every detail of her account or not, one thing is certain: Marina Chapman's life is proof that truth can be stranger and more inspiring than any fiction we could imagine.